Today was one of those days where I felt this urge to give in to that temptation of avoidance, but really also smoking weed. And with my history and my past, what I've been through, I know that weed is something that has contributed to a major source of avoidance. But that avoidance, even putting weed aside, is still there. And I still feel it within. And am I going to sit in it and do nothing about it? No, I've been taking steps. I still feel like my mind likes to connect the dots to the past and where I was before, as early as last year, and as long ago as 5 years ago, because it was easy. It was easy for me to just ignore, shove things to the side. Dude, this shit is too hard, man. Like, I don't want to do this, man. Oh, what's the point of school, dude? Like, school sucks, you know? And this is as a college student, just pushing it off, questioning if it's really worth it at the end of the day. Is this really all worth it, this education? And instead of really giving it a chance and actually diving head first, I chose to slack off, and inevitably I would complain about my life and like, oh wow, I don't feel like I have a purpose. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know what I'm doing with my life. And there's this existential crisis that comes, as any person growing up who doesn't really know quite yet what they want to do with their lives, but also as somebody who's transitioning from a boy to a man, because there's a lot of pressure. You're expected to provide for yourself, and eventually you want to find a wife, have kids, do something with your life, make a name for yourself. You don't want to be weak, but a lot of us are weak because we don't choose to take action. It's hard to take action. So instead we just kind of like wallow in our own little comfort bubble, and we lay in bed and we think to ourselves, man, like, why does life suck so much? And I'll tell you why. It's because we don't give anything a chance. I think us, those type of people, and that's including me and how I've lived my life before, and I'm still making changes. I'm not a perfect person, but the place where I'm coming from comes from that mentality of being a quitter, not wanting to follow through all the way on things. And there's a reason why you're stuck in the past, because the past holds that sense of comfort. And if you've ever dealt with some type of addiction or anything related to it, or anything related to your childhood and where you found comfort, it's easy to just stay put there. Feel all the reminiscent memories of the past, which it is okay to stay there at times, to think, wow, those were the good old days, you know? I think everyone has that reminiscent feeling, that feeling of nostalgia. Those are the good old days. But then it's that also that mentality that keeps you from striving to be the best, or at least reaching your highest potential. And that is one reason why you're sticking to the past, because it's comfortable and you have those strong memories, maybe positive associations, but there's also those negative associations too. And that emotional cycle of where you were back then and how it was maybe a little bit easier because you evaded responsibility. I mean, that's just me talking from my own experience. But if you're watching this and you're this far along, you're probably relating well enough and questioning, why am I stuck in the past? Or why have I been stuck in the past before? And going back to earlier today, I finished a workout, and 2 workouts actually. I took a cold shower earlier in the day, and I'm doing things that are uncomfortable to me, trying to form that discipline. But for some reason, it's just gotten to me lately. That sense of loneliness you get being committed to a lifelong journey of learning and embracing the responsibilities of adulthood and really, for me, manhood, and growing into the highest potential that I want to be at, striving for self-actualization, self-discipline, self-discovery, holistic development. There's things that I know I have to do today, but I've been avoiding it all day. I think, yes, I did my workouts. That was fine, okay? I'm building the discipline physically through the workouts, the cold shower, whatnot. That's great. But once I came back home, I just felt a little bit overwhelmed. Like, oh my God, there's so much shit I should probably be doing, but I kind of want to just lay on the couch. And started watching this rugby documentary on Netflix. It's actually quite interesting. It's called Six Nations Full Contact. Give it a watch, sure. It's interesting. But anyways, to get back on topic here, I have been having a difficult time just taking that action and getting up out of my comfort zone. But I think for something like this, where you're thinking about the past and you're stuck in, momentarily at least, and maybe you're stuck there like for quite a while, but we'll use this example momentarily. You have to find a way out of it. And I think the best way out of it is to really remind yourself of what you've been working so hard for. Why are you having that cognitive dissonance in your head of oh, should I, like you're basically battling your inner demon, like, oh, why am I laying here knowing that there are things I probably should be doing, and those things are supposed to fit in your value system and what you're trying to strive to attain in your life. So remind yourself of your values and what's brought you to the point that you're at. If you're not quite at that point that you want to be at, which I think a lot of us aren't, and that's including me. I mean, there's a lot of work to do, a lot of growth to go through, but within that journey, there's always a progression. You have to think, what's allowed me to progress to this point, and how can I use that to my advantage to get out of this situation, move on from thoughts of the past, and ultimately taking action to get out of that temporary state that you're in. That's ultimately what you should be trying to do. And if you're not at that point, like I've been saying, think like to yourself, what can you do to get to that point, and how can you avoid those triggers? I think for me, those triggers that triggered me today to think about the times of the past and smoking weed, not really giving a shit about anything, while still questioning my purpose and what I'm doing with my life, knowing that I'm probably not going down the best road and not pushing myself and challenging myself enough through self-discipline, self-discovery, doing things that would probably benefit me, but choosing not to pursue them because of that cringe factor and of being human and the way society functions as a whole, and how you have to apply to different jobs and function within society and take certain precautions and things and following the laws and regulations and whatnot. And if that made any sense to you, please let me know. If it doesn't make sense to you, then I don't really know what to say. But really, within that, getting stuck in these thought loops that I was brought into today ultimately came from that trigger of listening to music from that time period in my life, at least the time period of smoking weed and doing mushrooms and experiencing those altered forms of consciousness that were quite beautiful and honestly ecstatic. And just the way I saw things and the way I perceived it, and just that classic psychedelic almost like vision of everything around me every time I would trip on the mushroom, and how that would appear to me and how beautiful it projected itself to be. But it grew darker and darker, and ultimately I reminisce about the times where it wasn't dark, the times where it was light and playful. And I miss those times. I miss the times where I would hang out with Will and we would go on walks around a park and smoke a joint or a bowl or something along those lines. And getting out of that, that loop, or at least moving on from those things, can be challenging. So don't beat yourself up about something that may be challenging for you, but you have to think about some of the things I've said and what steps you can take now, where you feel like you can be, where you see yourself reaching that highest potential. Envision it. You're the creator of your own life. You ultimately know what you should be doing, so why aren't you doing it? You have to answer that question, but also envision your ideal self, where you want to be, and identify those triggers. And like I said, going back to summarize, trying to understand, or at least see where you have come from and what got you to the point where you are now, how you progressed here in your life. So just some food for thought. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you made it to the very end, this was kind of just spontaneous out of the blue. If you enjoyed it, let me know, then I could make more spontaneous videos like this. My videos lately have been more structured, which maybe I don't come off as authentic and genuine as I'd like it to be. So let me know if you enjoy these spontaneous videos. I appreciate you watching, and Alex from Shadow Ascent signing out.